So, good morning, Ramya.
Yeah, good morning, Rakesh.
Yeah, can you tell me something about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Ramya. I have around 10 years of experience entire into quality assurance engineer in IT. So I have experience in both manual testing and automation testing. Coming to manual testing, I have extensive experience around 7.5 years through the SDLC life cycle, right from test planning, right, test design techniques, test scenario writing, test case, test data preparation, and then test execution, defect lifecycle management, and all those things. And coming to the test closure activities, the metrics that we share, what are the kind of artifacts that we share with other stakeholders, right? And coming to the methodology, I have been working on Agile methodology from past 3+ years, where I have been involved in sprint planning, sprint retrospection, daily scrum meetings, and sprint reviews, and also in the product review backlog meeting, story points, and also to make sure what is the sprint velocity and all those things, right? And coming to the automation part, I have around 2.5 years of experience where I have completely worked on JavaScript using protractor and TestCafe tools, and have good knowledge on Cypress as well. And I have experience in both front-end automation and back-end automation, right? So when I say front-end automation, as I told, it's JavaScript, and back-end automation, I have used Super Test module and Chai HTTP libraries from Node.js. And coming to the management experience, I have trained around 4 people, right? In both juniors, right? In both technical and automation. When I say technical, manual and automation, right? So this is it.
Right, that sounds good. Okay, so you were mentioning that you have worked on automation of Protector. So can you tell me something about the automation framework that you have created and what is your contribution in that automation framework?
Sure. So I would like to tell Protractor and TestCafe both. So when I say Protractor, that is around 2019 starting is where I pitched into automation, where I was like a fresher in automation, right? So framework was already developed by another person. So my contribution was writing the test scripts, preparing the test data using JSON, and generating the reports, loggers, and all those things, right? So I can say it was like a junior level role with respect to the proactive contribution that I have done, where I have contributed to the automation of test scripts related to my module. So I was working in supply chain management domain, and I was handling inventory module and user data and all those things. So coming to the test cafe part, so I got an opportunity to create a framework from scratch. So I created like loggers, reports, test scripts, test data maintenance in JSON, utilities to make sure that for common methods we have this folder, and then how do you make sure you make it robust, dynamic, right? And page object model design pattern to make sure that we use encapsulation with respect to the locators. We are not exposing to the outside thing, right? So yeah, pretty much this is the framework. And also when we execute the test cases, we need to make sure that we go on updating TM4G, right? Test management for Jira, to make sure whether this test case is passed or failed. For that, I had to call APIs. And also e-commerce domain that I worked, where whatever the test data that has been set up in the CMS system or SFCC system, I had to make sure whether the same data is displayed in the web application. And how do I do that? I call the APIs. I fetch, I read the status code, and then I read the corresponding key value pairs, store it in some variable, and also read from the UI and use expect or assertions to make sure whether they're matching. So there's a kind of integration testing that I have done. So this is the framework.
Right. And how do you trigger this automation? Like, do you use any CI/CD tool or what do you do?
So basically, I had planned to integrate CI/CD, but then I did not get that opportunity. So CI/CD, I just know the basics of how do you trigger the npm build commands across various environments like pre-prod, prod, staging environment, and development and all those things. But I've not done it from Jenkins. I've done from the command line.
Okay, no issues. Right. So you were mentioning about this framework, Protector framework. So can you tell me what is configuration file in Protector and did you use that in your framework? You would have been using it, right?
Yes. So basically, configuration file, we use it for the user details like username, password, what kind of URL that we want to use, which environment that we want to hit. And are there any specific kind of configuration with respect to an environment like API specific things? So all those related things, right? Are there any authorization things that we need to do when we try to hit that URL so that, I'm authorized to use that? So such kind of things goes into configuration file.
Right. And what is a spec file in Protector?
So spec file is something where we write the actual test script, right? So we use Jasmine framework or Mocha framework. I've used both. Well, almost they are similar. Both use describe. Describe is nothing but a test suite, and it is nothing but like a test case, right? So using that, we call the different methods. So the thing is, the function definitions we had it in page. Page objects, like along with the locators, we also had the definitions and also in utilities file for common functions. And the function calls we were using in spec files. So spec file is where we have our actual test case, and moreover upon this we had used Cucumber also, BDD.
Cucumber, right.
Yeah, so we used to trigger the feature file.
Correct. So how many test cases do you automate every day, or as a team, how many test cases are you able to automate every day?
We didn't have any specific number as such, and we had very few testers. So we had to make sure that we finish up the manual tasks. We retest the defects which are critical and which are of high priority. And definitely we were not able to do it, and the in-sprint automation thing we were not able to implement, and we had to take up automation in the next sprint or the next sprint of that. So we don't have any specific number, as in when we get time, the manual activities are less, such person corresponding to that module would take up the automation tasks.
Okay, fine. Okay, let's say you get some user story for testing. What all things do you think from the user story point of view, from the testing point of view? How do you estimate that particular user story?
Sure. So basically, as I told, we'll have this backlog review meeting, sprint backlog review meeting. We used to have it with product owner 2 hours every week. So there we used Fibonacci series, where we will take one of the user stories, which is fairly simple, easy to understand, where we can say, the acceptance criteria is very clear, right? And let's say that we'll give 3 story points. Compared to that user story, the other user story, is it less complex than this? Then give 2 or 1. Is it more complex than this? Not only in terms of complexity, in terms of module also. I'm sorry, in terms of volume. Let's say something has to be changed, and that change is simple, but it has to be done across multiple places, which means we require time, right? We require both development and testing time. So now again, the test user story gets increased. So this is how we use to estimate based on Fibonacci series.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Now, what do you know about TypeScript map file? Have you used that in your automation?
Basically, I've used only JavaScript in my entire automation.
Okay, fine. Okay, now how will you verify whether a drop-down is selected or not in Angular applications?
So basically, we click on that and we give it as a value, whatever value that we want to select, right? So if it is auto suggestion, then we need to give keyboard.press.enter. Some specific things are there, right? We have to keyboard.press.down to go down or up and select that specific thing.
Correct.
So
okay. So apart from functional testing, do you perform non-functional testing as well?
No, I have not experienced non-functional.
Okay, fine. Okay, what is spike testing?
Spike testing.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm not wrong, so there is something that is stress testing and load testing, right? So let's say that I have an application, and let's say, just for the sake of explanation, let's say the maximum number of users where people can work on this application is 1,000 at a time. Okay, so till 1000, everything in the application is working as expected. The moment one user gets added, the performance goes down, and that is stress testing, right? Till what period or for how many users can this application perform well in a very good way? The response time is very good as expected. So I think that is where somewhere, okay, spike is related. Okay, there's a maximum number of users at this point of time where this application was performing good, and the breakdown time, I think it's load test.
Right, right. So what is actually the difference between spike test and stress test?
Okay. So stress, as I told, is a maximum number of users. So spike testing is something. Um, so basically, how many users have used this application at any point of time? The maximum load, something like that. Something should be related to something like that.
Correct, correct. So it is basically the sudden, or you can say higher ramp up in the number of virtual users. That is called the spike test. While in stress testing, you will be increasing the users beyond the limit, but it will be in the controlled environment, right?
Okay.
Well, for spike test, it would be the sudden increase, you can say. Okay.
Okay.
Now, let's say if some of the team member has recently joined your team, right? As you are having 9 to 10 years of experience, so you might be working as a QA lead position, or maybe on a QA manager position as well. You have one of the project in which you have already 4 to 5 members working with you. You have one more new member that has recently joined your team. And basically, as you were mentioning, you are doing both manual plus automation testing. So how will you make sure that within 3 months or within 6 months, you are getting productive output from him or her?
Okay. So the first question is, let's say, okay, I'll take two cases here. Okay, let's say this is JavaScript oriented project. Okay,
Okay.
and first scenario, that person is also having previous experience in JavaScript and Node.js. That means it is easier for that person to pick up, right?
Right.
So yeah. So what is the experience that they have? So what experience matches to what required experience here? What is the gap? First, I'll analyze that. So once I know what is the gap, I'll make sure how to fill in the gap in the least possible time so that these are the things that you need to finish. And I'll also be asking certain kind of questions, not like micromanagement, but to make sure that they progress and also to give them confidence that they can work well, right? And what are the roadblockers and all those things, like having a 5 or 10 minutes chat once in 2 days, like regarding progress, are we in the right direction? Does she or he need any help in terms of technical support? What about team? Are we making them comfortable? Because that is also very important. And what are the kind of things that they want, they're expecting? Are the things being fulfilled? Are they getting the things on time? All those things, right? And yeah, so these things I do. The second scenario is, let's say that they're from Selenium and Java. They're definitely picking up this. They need some learning curve, right? So we'll make sure instead of giving the documents, because I just love to teach, to talk to people. I'll make sure out of my mere interest, at least half an hour, I'll make sure, see, these are the things. So the moment I say, like telling is like double learning. So I remember, and also that person can grasp it very fast, right? So I will make sure I do that so that they will become productive as soon as possible in the least possible time.
Right. Now, let's say one of the junior team member is writing test cases for one of the functionality or one of the module. At the time of test case review, what all things you will check or validate whether he or she has covered in the test cases or not?
Sure. So definitely we in Agile, we don't have that scope of writing requirement traceability matrix. We don't have the luxury of time. So what we'll do is that tester to the corresponding developer, product owner, and manager or scrum master. We will sit in a meeting. Test case scenario, not test case, right? I mean, test scenario, not test case. So these are all the test cases. Who are all the actors? And basically, it's answering what, when, how, why, who, where. These questions. This will give you, like, these are the test coverage. So once we do it, we discuss with the corresponding developer. We have a meeting for that, and also we make sure whether the developer has written the code with respect to all these test scenarios, and also we'll prioritize them, and we'll make sure the high priority and the medium priority test scenarios that is already completed. And now test developer, it is my own experience as well. When I was also a junior level tester, I am experienced. The developer would have understood the requirement in a different sense, and a tester would have understood in a different sense, right?
Mhm.
Now, bringing different stakeholders into the same alignment is one crucial job that we need to do as seniors. So all those things we are going to discuss. And one more thing is there is something called as I forgot the term, impact analysis, right? Definitely
Impact
white box
analysis. Correct.
impact analysis. We will open it as developer. Okay, see here, developer, this is the test scenarios that we have written for this user story for this feature. And now you tell me, because you know the code better,
Mhm.
whatever the line of code that you have written for this feature, where and all it is impacting the application, so that it will make sure that I will do partial regression testing so that the existing functionalities are not broken. We will make sure this is taken by the developer,
Mhm.
right? So this is how we make sure we achieve more test coverage.
Correct. How do you measure your automation coverage?
Okay. So the first criteria that we see is not all things can be automated and not all things should be automated. So first criteria that I see is it stable? If it is not stable, then please don't automate. And I am not a person who believes in instant automation, right?
Mhm.
Because there will be bugs.
That's a
There will
myth
be
actually.
bugs.
Correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's actually a myth. Whichever user story you are testing in the same sprint, it's very difficult to automate in that particular sprint itself.
Correct. Especially when there are bugs, there will be bugs, right? And how
Mhm.
can you automate something that is having bugs? It does not make any sense. So or if it is stable, that's the first question. Second question, how many users are using this module? If it is module or some particular feature, if it is less used, don't automate, do it manually. If it
Mhm.
is of high priority, automate. Stability, percentage of users who are using that. And third thing is it like repetitive? Simply what do you say to that? For setting up the test data itself, you're taking 2-3 hours, repetitive tasks.
Mhm.
Then automate it. So such things are only we're taking for automation. And using Sonar, they used to do test coverage, right?
Okay. Mhm.
White box, statement coverage or condition coverage and all those
Right,
things.
right.
Developers,
Are you
unit
mentioning
testing.
about Sonar Cube analysis?
Sonar for unit testing.
Unit testing. Okay, for unit testing, you're telling. Uh-huh.
So, so like this, we used to refine what we want to automate.
Mhm. Okay.
Uh,
Now let's say if you have almost 1,000 to 1,200 test cases. Now, generally the expectations of management is like you'll be automating 100%. But as you were mentioning all these points, it's not applicable to everything for automation. So how do you tell them about the automation coverage? Like it's 60% for now, but it is sufficient for your application basically. So how will you convince the management for this in this particular kind of scenarios?
okay, let me reiterate your question. You're telling that 60% automation is the expectation?
No. I'm telling the management generally in the companies, they tell we need 100% of automation. Let's say if you
Okay.
have 1,000 test cases, they need all the 1,000 test cases to be automated, right? Now you have done 60% of automation based on your criteria that you are telling not everything can be automated. Few of the negative test scenarios cannot be automated and all those things. Now, how will you convince the management that your 60% is equal to almost 90 to 95% of the automation that can be done for this application? So how will
Sure.
you, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what I did with my previous company was I sat with product managers. So Google Analytics is something that we used to do. So uh, what kind of devices for mobile application, for example, what devices they're using, what operating system they're using, what are the version of Android they're using. Okay, then we get to know, okay, 90% of the users are using this. Then the remaining 10% are using this. When it comes to web applications, 98% of the users are using Chrome. The remaining 2% Firefox or IE. Okay,
Mhm.
now I got clarity. Okay, this is what I want to automate, first thing. Second thing, let's say because of some feature, for example, I created a user and that particular user is going to get an email. This definitely can't be automated. I
Mhm.
never know when he'll get an email or whether he got an email or not. So I'll
Mhm.
make sure that certain things which cannot be automated cannot be automated. That's it, right?
Mhm.
And then this, I will make sure the 60% of the automation coverage that we have done is almost covering almost 90 to 95% of the user acceptance testing, or how do you say it? How our application is used by the users. 90 to 95% of the coverage is already covered by the 60% of automation test suite. So this is as good as telling that we are covering all the impact things. The remaining 40% cannot be automated, should not be automated because of its own reasons. I convince them. Otherwise, if at all that is what expectation, we'll do it, but that will not result to any kind of goal achievement with respect to company. I'll be openly saying this. If you're okay with this, I'm getting paid at the end of the month. I don't have any issues. Are you okay with this?
Okay. Right. I'm very sure that if the company owner or the stakeholder listens this, then they'll be automatically getting convinced. Okay. Right. So coming to the next question, how do you keep yourself updated? Let's say if any new tool or technology has been launched in the market, how do you make sure that you are getting awareness about that tool or you are learning that tool?
Okay. That's a difficult thing that has been for me from past 2, 3 years, to be very honest. With increasing family responsibilities, you keep on upgrading yourself technically. It's really a challenge, right?
Mhm.
And when it comes, so now the question is, what kind of demand is there in the market? That's the first question.
Mhm.
And is this tool, fulfilling the demand? If the answer is yes, then I will put it in my bucket list. And slowly, day, half an hour, or weekend, I'll sit. So that's how I upgrade. I'll go to different forums. I'll ask some questions. Is it really required? Because I'm a kind of person. Before investing time, I'll make sure why is this required. Simply
Mhm.
learning does not make any sense. Okay, why is this required? Will it help me in the future? Will it help me in my career growth? And if the answer is yes, then I will make sure that I'll invest time in that. And is that required in my company also? Otherwise, it's okay.
Right, right. What is your contribution to the community? I have seen that you are having some YouTube channel on, and in that you have covered good sessions on agile testing and all those things. So would you like to tell something up to us, to all of us about your YouTube channel and community and contribution to the community?
Sure. So there is a YouTube channel called as Career Stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted him, and he was also interested when I was also interested in contribution. So basically, why Agile? Why not waterfall? Why Scrum Master? Why product owner? Why 2 weeks? Why Agile means everybody are in stress? Oh my God! In 2 weeks we need to finish all these things. Always customer is the king. Why are we not respected like customer? What exactly are we trying to achieve? What is roadmap? What is release roadmap? What is that we want to do? What is the feature? What is the user story? When can you? What is acceptance criteria? What is definition of done? Right. So I think if people get into why we do what we do, it becomes more interesting. Okay, I have an interview. They'll ask me some questions. I should get prepared. Instead of that, why, what is that we are trying to achieve on this product, what kind of impact will it have on our customers life, this service. So am I bettering their life in a positive way? So like that, right? When we think in those from end user perspective, then I think it really motivates us to dig more, to go deep, to answer many questions, and people think that we are learning, we are upgrading ourselves, we are giving more. Yes, not because they want it or not because to impress, because we want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because we want to better our service, right? So speak about agile, how QA should take agile, and I talk about automation. There are 2, 3 sessions I have done.
Mm-hmm.
So why automation is required?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what has become is I want this automation test script to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I've automated and I tell it to everybody. But the whole notion is this automation suite or test case should find a bug. If it is not finding bug, then what is the use, right? The whole notion of automation is getting lost because that is a kind of pressure. Because to be very honest, speaking English and speaking JavaScript or speaking Java is completely different,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not only about that. It's about GitHub. It's about CI/CD integration. People are speaking about Docker. So there's so many things that we want. So finally, we are ending up becoming the jack of all and master of none. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, we're forgetting the manual testing concepts also.
Correct, correct.
So I think this is the real struggle that industry is having. And I don't believe that there should be separate manual testers, separate automation testers. No, a person, if he's a tester, if he or she is next to product owner, they should know what is that application. If I touch this part of the application, where and all it is getting affected, how users are using our applications, is it easy to use, is it intuitive, all those things. That is how a tester's attitude should be. And once you're good in the application, yes, then do automation because you know what it is. Simply doing automation because I know Java or JavaScript does not make any sense. That all these things I've spoken there.
Correct. Product knowledge is a prerequisite for doing automation of the application. If you don't know the product knowledge, you'll be just automating the screens and you'll be ending up like running your automation
Say
without.
everything is fast, which cannot find any bugs. Finally, to have production bugs.
Right. Correct. Okay. Okay, Ramya, I'm done. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, yes, I have. I had this one question. So basically, what is happening with me is when I try to switch. So basically, I was back from maternity leave. So what is happening in my own company? There are many openings for Selenium and Java, rest assured, which I don't have experience with. I have in JavaScript, Node.js, all those things, right? Or different tools related to Node.js. So the moment I say I don't have experience, I'm not even. So in our company, it's like client interview should happen before I go into a project. So I'm not even being sent for client interview. So what is your suggestion?
Okay. Okay. So what you can do is if you can have like it's a learning curve again for you. You'll be learning Selenium with Java and create some automation, maybe on e-commerce website or on the web application which your company has. You can automate that and you can showcase them that this is how the automation that I have done by myself, right? I have learned because till now you are working in Protector or you are working with this JavaScript automation, but you can tell them, you can give a short demo of the basic crude operations, maybe 1 or 2 pages of the web application which is being used or which has been part of a service provided by your company to the client itself, and you can showcase that demo to them. So automatically the basic questions like she's a beginner in this kind of Selenium plus Java automation, or she's having no experience in this, so all these questions will get diluted, right? So the demo, in the demo again, you will have to include about few of the assertions, few of the checkpoints that you can mention in Selenium with Java, and you can basically showcase them a good report at the end of the time, the reporting, not the test engine report but a good customizable report, anything that you can use and that you can showcase to them that this is how the reporting that I have basically created. So this kind of demo if you will give to them, so definitely it will strike in their mind that let's hire her in this kind of positions, because you are having product knowledge. That is your advantage. Product knowledge plays a very vital role in the automation, right? If you are automating any application, but if you don't know how will you test that particular thing, so it's no point in doing automation, as you were mentioning it very rightly. Now you're having product knowledge, so you can automate it. Why you cannot automate it? Basically, you know the in and out of the application, so you are the person who will be able to create or guide the team as well for automating few of the critical scenarios that would be impacting the business of the client. So you can tell them that this is how the automation test plan is that I have created, like in the month of January or in the month of February, so much things need to be automated, and this is a small demo of the, or you can say a POC kind of thing that I have created using Selenium with Java.
So sure, like put it in the GitHub and show that URL. That's what.
Correct. Put it in the GitHub, but make sure that that URL is not going outside your environment or outside your network. Otherwise, they again might ask you a question like, is it accessible from everyone outside the organization as well? Or you can showcase a simple code in your IntelliJ or in Eclipse in your local environment for now, and then you can ask them that I can also upload it in the Git, and then other people can also use it and they can add their test cases. So any framework that you can create, you can use page object model, you can use data driven framework, anything that you are comfortable with.
Sure.
Right.
And one last question is, I want to transition in the near future, maybe 1 year down the line, to a product manager role. So in your channel, if you can cover a topic, how to transition from QA to product manager, that would be of great help for many people like me.
Okay, from QA to product manager. Sure, I'll try to take it up then. Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ramya.
Thank you, Rakesh. Nice speaking to you.
Same here.